Welcome to a very special round where I got to play one of the top courses in Canada. This is Cabot Links. It's in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and just look at this beautiful ocean view. And to top it off, at the first hole, they give you free cookies.
Cookie?
I mean, come on. And there's a glimpse of my brother who so graciously got this set up for us. And the first hole of this course is a par 5. And there are very few links style courses in Canada, and you can see that we were getting perfect weather to play that style of golf today, as I had 2 warm weather gloves on and just absolutely piped this first drive, getting a fist pump from my caddy Luke, who I will introduce you to in just a second. So my second shot in here, I pull out a 5-iron because my impression of links golf is that the ball often trundles along quite a bit, so I was hoping to just hit a low little draw here, which I did. But I think because of how cool and wet it was, I certainly did not get as much bounce as I was expecting. So it's just a little pitch on here, but this is a great way to start a round at one of the most famous courses in Canada. Get on the green in regulation, 2-putt for par, and that's how you start a round with some positive vibes. And just before we move on to hole 2, here's a quick little interview with Luke because he's doing something very special and incredibly selfless this year.
So this is Luke, caddy extraordinaire, but also a really great guy, and I just want to give him some time to talk about this awesome initiative he's doing this year.
Yeah, it's wicked. My name's Luke Sear. I'm the president and CEO of the Luke Sear Foundation. This year at Cabot, I'm donating every dollar I earn as a caddy to my foundation, which goes all to the charities. We have some initiatives. Log on to lukesearfoundation.org, hit the donate button. There's a pledge sheet, and I'm going to be trying to walk 2,400 kilometers. So pledge whatever amount you want, and all money goes to saving someone's life.
That's awesome.
Thank you very
great
much.
caddy, great man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
And we are back to some golf action here. So hole 2 is a par 3 where I have my 4 hybrid. A nice little smooth swing here, but it didn't quite draw around as I would have liked, so it just ends up in the left rough. And I'm going to feature my brother Dan on this hole because him and I were just having a friendly little match play. We don't get to golf together very often because we live in different provinces, but it was great to get out with him. He ends up on the green, and you'll see he has a really cool long putt coming up here. But before we get to that, I know he has the advantage on this hole, so I'm trying to chip one close, and I do a pretty decent job getting it up over the ridge, but I leave a pretty lengthy par putt that you'll see in a second. But look at this green. I would have no idea how to play this putt, so I'm pretty sure Dan got some good advice from his caddy as well, but he just did an excellent job pacing this thing down there and leaves himself a chance to save his par. And speaking of caddies a couple times already, it is invaluable if you are golfing a course that you have never played before, and especially one as neat and unique as the Cabot course is. So you can see that Luke is giving me a really good read here on this putt. I didn't honestly know much of what I was looking at, so I'm just trusting him here when he was talking about it being on the right edge. One of the things I'm trying to do better this year is also line up my ball. I usually just putted by feel, so I lined that thing up on the right edge, trusted Luke's line, and absolutely drained that putt. So I put a little bit of pressure on Dan here because I get an unlikely par after that tee shot. So Dan has a chance to have the hole here. And that one stings. Oh dear. But when you're playing a course as beautiful as this one, it is hard to get too frustrated with the game because this is just a fantastic view for the tee shot on hole 3. And I was taking Luke's advice on this hole where he said that it's best to be on the left side of center of this fairway, so I did end up doing that. And then just to give me some confidence, he had this great little joke.
I would have preferred it maybe a foot to the left.
And that's just an example of why Luke is the perfect temperament of a caddy for me, because I like to just have a good time on the golf course, so being able to be pretty chill and joke around is exactly what I need to keep my mind focused. He knows his course inside and out, but he also knows how to have a good time and line up birdies for me. There is the first of the day, and we don't need to talk about how if that did not hit the center of the cup, it was probably going to end up 15 feet long, because I'll take that birdie, and being 1 under through 3 is better than I ever could have imagined. That brings us to hole 4, which is another par 4. Really cool view here. It's one of the few where you're actually moving away from the ocean. A lot of them end up being pretty parallel back and forth. And I did pull this shot a little bit, but thankfully it ended up in the rough, and it was sitting in a decent lie, so I still have a look at the green. And with that big bunker at the front of the green, I did club up one to ensure that I could cover it, and I'm glad I did, because I didn't hit this totally clean, but it did come out just enough that it cleared that ridge, and it ends up on the green. But I left myself a really long putt. I'm trying to channel my inner Dan here and didn't quite have the pacing that I needed, so I left a little bit of a knee knocker here to try and save my par, and unfortunately it does not drop, so there's the first bogey of the day, and I am back to even. This fifth hole par 3 plays a little bit tricky as it's 165 yards, but with it being downhill, Luke was saying that you always want to land it short and let it just bounce on the green because he sees that happen over and over and you don't want to go long. But again, I think because of the wet conditions, it just kind of hit and stuck. So I end up having to try and chip it close here, and I probably should have tried a bit more of a bump and run, but I wanted to get a little bit cute over the ridge, and it just kind of hit it and stopped pretty short. So long par putt there. I leave that short. It's a tap in bogey, but at least there's this beautiful view as I was looking forward to the 6th hole, and I just panned around here because my brother actually got on the green in 2, a little bit closer par putt than I had, and he drains it. So that is his first win of a hole for the day, so I wanted to feature that. He was pretty happy. And hole 6 is a cool short little par 4, but it doglegs left around this little bay area that you could see here. My goal here was to aim at the right side of the fairway and just fade it back towards the middle, but I really shanked this thing off to the left, and it got dangerously close to going in the water, and you can hear the reaction.
I hit it. I was like, oh, that thing's started.
And thankfully, not only was it in play, but I had a good lie, so I'm able to pitch it onto the green here. It goes a little bit past the hole, but gives me a good look at a birdie. And I'm just going to stop my narration for a second here so you can listen to Luke and I talk out the way that this putt ends up going, because it's my favorite moment of the day. I really felt like we were on tour or something here. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's going to spin. It's going to turn. Come look at the other side.
Yeah, definitely above it.
Yeah, because I think we're gonna have to come out this way almost towards this mark. Remember, it's a touch uphill, and you're catching great. Yeah. Okay, so come looking from this way. You can almost see the uphill. You can see this.
Oh, shoot, yeah, right there.
Right, that flattens out.
Okay, so put up there, and then that's a little bit downhill. Yeah, that marker you went straight down. Or do I almost get like
Slower. Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah, okay. I'm almost aimed right at it right now, so I'll just kind of play it straight to that.
Holy moly! My caddy.
I absolutely love that moment, not only because Luke and I were able to talk through that putt together, but to see him being more excited than I was for that birdie to drop was something special. And I wish I could have carried that momentum forward into this par 3, but maybe I was distracted by the beautiful view or just had too much of an adrenaline rush from that birdie dropping. But I pulled this shot way off to the right, left a really tricky pitch on here that I thought the ball was going to check up a lot faster, and it really didn't. It just hit and released quite far past the hole. And one of the things that Luke was reminding me about all day is that when you are putting with your back to the ocean, it is a very slow putt. And I just couldn't convince myself to hit that hard enough, so even though it was going right in the center, that's another bogey, so I'm back to +1. I followed that up with a tee shot on a par 5 that is a really terrible top, but thankfully I ended up right in the middle of the fairway, and because it's a par 5, I was only trying to get on the green in 3 anyway. And this was another great moment where having a caddy was really helpful, because this is a completely blind shot, and I would not have had any confidence at all hitting it without knowing where I was going, and they just let me know that I basically had to follow that center line up the fairway. So if I could hit a little draw towards that line, I'd be in great shape. And thankfully I was able to. But my approach to the green here is not ideal. I had been suggested to go kind of just to the right of the pin, but I needed to get back far enough towards it because it's a really tricky putt if I'm short. And unfortunately that's what I did, so I just had to shrug it off because I noticed I thinned it and I didn't even touch grass. So you can see this is a really long putt, and because I had left that last putt quite short, I was really giving this one some muscle. And it's not a long putt coming back, but it was really slippery and it had some pretty severe break on it, so I just overthought it, missed it a little bit, and there's back-to-back bogeys. So that's twice today that I had a birdie and followed it up with 2 bogeys. It's certainly something I need to fix in my game. As we move to the next hole here, this is a par 4 that I have a decent fade on my drive, and I kind of fell out of my swing on the approach there, so it ended up going a little bit short, but I have a good pitch on here, and the ball checks up a little bit faster this time, which is nice for me. I end up tapping in this par, and then it's the only moment of the entire day that Luke and I are out of sync. Oops, that was totally on me. I was completely distracted. I don't know what was going through my mind there. The 10th hole is a par 4 with a blind tee shot that I was trying to just kind of follow that middle line of the fairway again, but I overcooked my 3-wood here and it went straight into the bunker. And thankfully, not only is Luke an amazing caddy, but he's a pretty good cameraman. And even though I had a terrible out here, he hypes me up like it's the best shot of all time. So I hit the lip, you can't really see it there, but it ends up in the middle of the fairway. And then you get the joy of watching me absolutely struggle to get out of this bunker like the old man that I am. This is 40, folks. Now, my approach shot to the green is decent, but not great, because when you get up, you'll see here as I speed through the clip that this is a long putt. So it's very similar to the putt that Dan had on the 2nd hole, but I do not do nearly as good a job keeping this close. It is quite a bit more of a swing than I think Dan's was, so the pacing actually wasn't terrible, but it was way offline. And I'm going to have to spoil it for you here, but I missed this putt and I take a double bogey because I forgot to bring my charger on this round. So unfortunately, I only got those 10 holes recorded. So here's my overall score. 37 on the front, 42 on the back. Very successful day as a whole, breaking 80. So thank you very much for watching the holes that I was able to show you from Cabot Links. And if you keep your eyes out, in the next couple of days, I will be showing you the course that I recorded from Cabot Cliffs, which I believe to be an even more aesthetically pleasing course. It is ranked slightly higher in the Canada and World rankings, and you can see some shots here of just absolutely stunning views, constantly overlooking the ocean, lots of undulations. Tons of bunkers on the cliffs here, so you can see a shot just coming out, and just an overall wonderful experience. So I will be uploading that in the next couple of days, and I hope you watch that too.